Morning, everyone. Welcome to admin on this lovely August 26th day. Violet, would you like to do roll call for us?
Yeah, here in person in the Sophie Moise room, we have myself, Violet Plummer, Steve Carey, Emmy Bristow, Mel Fisher, Anna Conley, Chris Lansbury, Ann Hughes, Emily Brock, and Commissioners Strohmeyer, Verrill, and Slotnick. And calling in over teams, we have Kyla Lennertz, Jason Hauser, Erica Grindy, Jason Emery, Allison Franz, and Adrian Beck. Did I miss anybody? Okay.
Okay, thanks, Violet. Is there any public comment on items not on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, let's just roll right in. Erica, thanks for joining us today.
Sure. So we have a renewal agreement for the claims administration software used by workers' compensation. This was the upgrade portion of this was part of a budget request that you all approved use of work comp cash reserves for. So you'll see in the agenda as well as in the paperwork provided, this is a 3-year renewal for that software. And then there is the $59,280 upgrade fee. Just to again go over the upgrade, this application was purchased in September of 2013. It has undergone minimal upgrades. The current version will no longer actually be supported at the conclusion of the year. The only way to access it right now is through Internet Explorer, which I understand, and Jason Emery's on, I understand Internet Explorer is no longer being supported by Microsoft. So basically, we would eventually have an obsolete tool over here. And this houses all of the workers' compensation files. It's how we pay the medical claims under those files. So it's basically the nuts and bolts for our self-administered program over here.
Okay, any questions?
No, pretty straightforward. And so motion to the board approve the, oh my goodness.
Item 1?
Yeah, item 1. I'm not going to read all of that.
Yeah, sorry for the lengthiness. It just seemed critical for the cost perspective.
All right, I'll second that.
Any further discussion or public comment on this item? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Erica.
Thank you, Erica.
Erica,
Thank you.
For your new software.
come back anytime.
I'll be back later.
Yes, you will. Okay, not Erica. Adrian Beck, we are contemplating rescinding stage 2 fire restrictions on private property.
Thank you, Commissioner. So what you have before you is a formality of when we impose stage 2 fire restrictions, it requires a resolution by the board, and summarily to rescind those stage 2 fire restrictions also requires a resolution. So what you have before you is a request to rescind stage 2 fire restrictions. This is in concert with our federal, tribal, state land managers in the Missoula area, consistent with our restrictions and closures plan. We have reduced our fire danger to high in Missoula County. Recent precipitation and just seasonal changes that hopefully will be coming with the fall, shorter days and higher relative humidities at night, no longer necessitate the need for stage 2 fire restrictions.
So, Adrian, what things can people do now that they couldn't used to do, and when can they do those things?
Right. So we are going all the way down and recommending that we go to no restrictions. So campfires would again be allowable, as would charcoal barbecues and operating internal combustion engines such as chainsaws, lawnmowers, at any time of day.
All on private property.
Correct. As well as the rescission. So the Lolo National Forest, DNRC Southwest Land Office, and the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes are all also rescinding their stage 2 fire restrictions. And so public lands will also allow those activities.
Okay. And no open burning though.
Correct. So open burning is separate from this. We have a burn permit program that requires not recreational, so excuse me, that requires debris burning to have a permit. That is designated by fire danger, but also air quality. And right now, fire danger is the limiting factor as to why open burning is not open.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Second.
Further discussion or public comment? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
light it up, but be safe.
Yes, and yeah, that's a good reminder is that while we are rescinding stage 2 fire restrictions, it still is dry out there historically. So we are still in high fire danger, and we just encourage the public to be responsible and careful.
Thank you, Adrian. Emily Brock or Jason Hauser, come on up. We've got a proposed amendment to Building 35 GMAX contract with Jackson Contractor Group. You want to come on up to the microphone?
So this work is to rebuild the HVAC system in the Home Arts building. The original GMAX for this work wasn't contemplated by the architectural firm. It was a little bit of a oversight on behalf of A&E. But upon demolition, we found that the whole HVAC system needed to be rebuilt, particularly under COVID. And so this project is ARPA eligible for ARPA reimbursement, but it needs to happen either way. And actually, it has happened already. To be clear, we're in the middle of the project and we just move forward with it in good faith. The funding, if it's not funded by ARPA, it will come out of the Fairgrounds Special District. So the amendment to Building 35 GMAX brings the total cost of that project to $965,331. And that also includes site work and the new Mercantile Alley and the new lights that are going to go in that aren't in yet.
Which looks great, by the way.
Yeah.
Questions?
No, since it's been done. I motion that we approve the amendment to the AIA 133 Building 35 GMAX contract.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion or public comment on this item? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Emily. And the next one's yours too.
So this is an MOU between the city and the county. As you know, we constructed commuter trails along the east and south sides of the fairgrounds property with MRA funding in 2019. During construction of those trails, adequate access to the trail from Russell Street was required, but deferred to a later point in time. We thought, and maybe when we got the livestock center in, we would do it. Meanwhile, the pedestrian crossing at South on Russell Street between the Y and Opportunity Resources, there was a fatal accident, or it wasn't fatal, but it was a very tragic accident. He did survive. And so you can imagine that a lot of the clientele that's going between Opportunity Resources and the Y were using that space, and it was kind of a halfway down the block. It was just a really bad crossing. And so it was identified by the city and the MDT as a good candidate for safety improvements. The city staff actually determined that should be moved to the trail, to where the new trail then had come in subsequently. And so the new location of the South Russell Street crossing will be at the trail. And so we want to consolidate these projects, and it will provide better connections for Mountain Line and facilitate safe, commuter, bike, pedestrian access. And so we want to combine the projects, the county finishing the trail project and the city MDT project into one. And this MOU outlays the delivery of that project. The city will administer it. It's, most of it is in city right away, or much of it. We'll hand over all the designs that we've already done. It's already designed. Our piece is already designed, like the bulb out is already designed. So we'll hand that over to the city. And then we anticipate the remainder of the project costing about $150,000, and we'll split it down the middle. And then, of course, the trails will be maintained and operated in accordance with the interlocal agreement with the Parks Department.
Great.
Great. Any questions on that?
It's like a safety leap forward.
Yeah.
All right, I would move that the board sign the MOU with the city.
Second.
Any further discussion or public comment on the MOU? Seeing none, all in favor?
Hey.
All right, thanks, Emily.
Thanks, Emily. The next item is just one of our standard employment agreements. This one between Dennis Blanchard and PHC / Missoula County. Pay rate change. Chris, anything you want to add?
So I'll just add, once again, Commissioners, Chris Lonsbury. Partnership Health Center, of course, our federally qualified health center. It is a part of the county. It is funded by federal grants and a sliding fee scale, not by county property tax dollars. Dennis is their person who oversees their buildings and grounds. And so this is both an extension of his contract and then a change in pay rate to reflect some additional duties that he's taken on.
Great. Questions or motion?
Nope. Want to keep Dennis. So motion that the board approve the standard employment agreement between Dennis Blanchard and PHC.
Second that.
Further discussion or public comment on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So let's take things out of order here. I think we want to reserve item 6 for last, since we'll be needing to close the meeting for litigation related matters. Let's talk about the correspondence. Is that Dave Morris I see out there? Mass, you want to come on up and talk to us about this letter that I think you're going to deliver for us? And if you could go ahead and activate that mic right there, just hit the button. There we go. Hi.
Hello, morning. Thanks for entertaining a letter that I'm planning to bike across the country and then up to the climate conference in Glasgow in November. So this has been kind of a long-term personal project, but I feel like it's also an important civic and regional priority. And I'm very glad that the commission would support the aims of the conference, and I look to represent our region to some degree at the conference, and also report back from the conference through various means. And your letter gives me another good reason for going and really showing official support.
And it's a much bigger deal than we originally thought when we thought you're just biking to Glasgow, Montana. Yeah.
Right.
That was my first thought.
Okay. Yeah, that's understandable. But the conference is not there.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I was wondering about the water in between.
Yes.
When there's a United Nations conference in Glasgow, Montana, you know that there's been a sea change, so to speak.
No,
Yeah.
fantastic. How do we follow along, or how do we?
Yeah. It's a good
I have a website that is I'm constructing it. It's in fairly good shape, not quite ready for prime time yet, but it's climatecouragetour.org.
Fantastic.
question. Are you biking by yourself?
I'll have some companions at various stages, but this sort of came together quickly. I had a bigger plan for last year that got stomped on by COVID, like everything else. But this kind of reinstatement of it hasn't left much time for that kind of organization. But yeah, working on it.
On the European side, you know, if there are other people biking to Glasgow.
There are some, yes. So I'll ride from London to Glasgow, hopefully with a bunch of crazy British people.
That'll be really fun. That'll be so fun.
Also, the Climate Smart Missoula Carbon Footprint Fund is how I'll be offsetting the emissions for the flight over there. And this trip was actually some of the inspiration for that fund. So trying to link carbon emissions to beneficial local projects right here, you know, helping people with their building envelopes, insulation and heating projects.
So those projects offset the flight too.
Yes.
Well, we will get this distributed and signed, and you'd be more than welcome to come back and debrief on your
We'd love to hear
experience.
about it.
Yeah,
actually.
sure.
It'd be great to hear about the experience and the conference.
Yeah. I think the just being at the conference I really want to bring sort of a Western perspective to those, all the events around the conference that probably won't get from the traditional media. So
is it hard? How did you get to go to the conference? I thought it was a
yeah, the actual conference is basically diplomats.
Yeah.
And they're not really lobbyable or changeable in their positions. So it's really the events and
I see.
everything
That's-
surrounding the actual diplomatic event. That's what I will be attending and volunteering at. And
Great.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you want us to sign this baby right
I'm
now?
trying to get a photo with you
Okay.
for.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we can do that.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
It's really
well,
exciting.
Glad it's feels worthwhile to you all also.
Definitely.
There you go. All signing at once.
And
Hey.
maybe you want to grab a photo?
Okay.
Oh, there's both there. Sorry.
We're in front of the.
Yeah, let's. You guys can get a picture with us. Yeah. Sign anything. Okay, next, a piece of correspondence to Governor Gianforte. Chris, would you like to say a few words about this?
Sure. Thanks, commissioners. So this is a request to the governor to ask that they begin releasing funding that's been allocated during the last legislative session to the Department of Health and Human Services, also known as DPHHS, for COVID response. And so right now in Missoula County, as you know, and as you've heard from Deshane, our health officer, and others, we continue to see the Delta variant spike occurring in Missoula County. So as they ramp up services right now, testing and vaccination are eligible expenses under FEMA, which means the county will be reimbursed up to 75% of those costs for the delivery of that service. But contact tracing and case investigation are not. And just that wing of the health department's response, the ability to notify folks who've potentially been exposed and ask them to isolate or quarantine, although what that means is, stay at home and potentially not infect others versus a different term, isolation, which has much the same effect. We will be spending right around $151,000 a week. So as you can imagine, given that the Delta variant spike will go on for some time, there's the potential that we could exhaust local funding pretty quickly. So having the state take some of that funding that was specifically earmarked and came from the federal government and begin to release that to local health agencies is going to be important. So that's what this letter requests that the governor do is direct his staff to begin that process. And we've also reached out with a copy of the letter to Gallatin County and some others asking them to send it as well.
So it's just those two counties? Or these two, us and Gallatin County are the only counties in the state that are sending a letter?
Well, so we reached out specifically to them. Depending on your action today, we could reach out to Mako and ask them to forward it to other counties and ask them to include it. But we have a different relationship with Gallatin County when it comes to our health departments. It's one of the neighboring counties that we partner pretty closely with, so we wanted to reach out to them directly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
great.
good letter. Thanks.
Yeah,
So this
really
will be-
glad it's happening.
this will be,
$150,000 a week for those at home. Didn't hear that clearly.
Okay, we will get that circulated. We'll forego the wildfire update. I think we just kind of received that by way of, yeah. And anything else before we go on to our final item related to Cody Marble case? Okay, Chris.
Yeah, so commissioners, I'm not sure if Anna would like to do the lead into that, or Erica, or if they'd like me to the part where we close the meeting, and then outside counsel Steve Carey will take over from there.
Lead us through the process, Anna.
This is can you hear me okay?
Yes.
This isn't my item, but my understanding is that this item has to do with litigation strategy and ongoing litigation. So I would recommend that you move